Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Echelon Cycling Podcast, where three cycling nerds, well, one converted into a pro cycling journalist now, talk about what's been happening in the week of cycling. Obviously, we have a long agenda in a way, the Giro d'Italia, the Vuelta Feminina, and plenty of one-day races as well. And our podcast favorite is back in form, Arnaud Delis. But as always, I'm joined by Mr. Kruger himself, Ewan Wilson, and Patrick Blake of Outdo Cycling. And I mean, yeah, the Giro d'Italia, it started. Pogacar's already in the Maglia Rosa, so I guess it's over.
It's definitely feeling that way, isn't it? It's as we predicted it was going to be, with Pogacar leading the race after the opening weekend. Really hard and attritional opening day into Turin as well. Made for some exciting racing. Then on stage 2, he had that sort of Pantani-esque ride where he had a mechanical problem, he had a puncture, then crashed on one of the corners. Then had to pace up through the whole peloton, shoved Rafa Majka at the front of the group, churn the field down, 5k to go, he attacks, and it was pretty much it from there. The battle for second was looking quite open at the moment. That one's quite intriguing, but Pogacar almost has 1 minute of a lead in GC after the first weekend of racing.
Should we just send it now? Is that it? Should we just, I don't know, should we just have a load of, sprints now and just kind of determine Ciclamino and is the Giro just going to be like a 1 week race?
I mean, speaking of Ciclamino, Pippo Fiorelli is doing a really good job of that. He's leading it with quite a big gap after the first weekend of racing. He's a decent sprinter himself. He could get top 10s in the sprints. So I'm really intrigued to see what Pippo Fiorelli will bring in this Maglia Ciclamino competition. But in the peloton, Caden Groves, Caleb Ewan, Jonathan Milan, and Dan Evan Poppel, interestingly, all seeming to target that one.
I can't get my head around where the Ciclamino points are allocated, because there seems to be 3 intermediate sprints a stage. One of them's bog standard normal intermediate sprint, like you'd expect in the Tour. Then there's a inter-Giro thing, which is like a separate GC or something. And then there's a bonification sprint. And then, so there's 3 intermediate sprints. And it's the Giro making it a little bit more interesting throughout the stage, but at the same time, it's been a little bit of a headache for the last couple of days, but I think I'll get used to it as we go through. But I also just why are Groves and Ewan going so hard up here? I'm isn't this just into Giro? I'm does this even count towards Ciclamino? I'm either they're making a big mistake here, or I have no idea what was going on. It turned out I just had no idea what was going on. It was fully on me. But I don't know. Do you guys care about Inter Giro, or is it just a full-on meme?
What's annoying about Inter Giro is that it's not the real Inter Giro competition, because this was a thing a while back, and it was its own classification based on time, and it was a genuine it was a really, really interesting classification. Breakaway riders could really go for it. Now it's just another breakaway sprints prize, which you already have at the Giro. We have the Fuga prize, my personal favorite, the Fuga prize, and they have the intermediate sprint points solely for breakaways, and now they have the new Inter Giro as well. It felt like they needed some advertising space. We've all been there. You need to fill up the Q2 finance, and they got in they got in a new little prize in the Inter Giro. I think it's been executed quite sort of confusingly. I think were 2 intermediate sprints not enough? With a bonus second one and a points one? Did we really need an extra one in there? It gives something for the breakaway to search for, but
I mean, you give it E-Giro alongside it as well, just to really kind of throw a spanner in the works as well.
Yeah, I mean, the Giro loves an extra classification. They also have the Fair Play Award, the Fast Team, all these different classifications, which all have winners. I'm sure that they're all gunning out for victory in these classifications, particularly the fair play one. Don't break the rules and you win the prize.
Yeah. Back to Tadej Pogacar. Has he already won it? Is anyone able to challenge him? Ben O'Connor went backwards after trying to follow his wheel.
I feel like O'Connor is a podium contender. It's just that today he made a tactical mistake. Which, to be fair, I have no problems with. The fact that he actually had the cajoolies to give it a go, but ended up blowing up big time. I think that if he played it more conservative, like G did, he would have been probably top 5 on this stage in the GC fight. End of the day, he loses 30 seconds. But I do feel like he is up there with G as like a podium contender. It's just that stage 2's results on paper don't really reflect his ability. I just think he gave it a go. But going back to your question, Scott, is anybody able to contend this? No. Probably not. I really... No. Especially not with Ineos just pacing for UAE all day. I don't think it'll change.
I think Ineos probably have the best contender of the lot in Garrett Thomas. He's such a proven Grand Tour force where there are contenders with question marks about their form or their sort of record and pedigree in Grand Tours. I feel like Thomas has that sort of default veteran Grand Tour engine that should guarantee him a podium as long as he stays upright in this race. He's 45 seconds down now, but I think he's looked probably the best of the rest so far. Ben O'Connor, I really want to see him on the podium. Decathlon have had a fantastic year so far. Ben O'Connor rode a brilliant Giro back in 2018, which people often forget about. Should have made top 10, but crashed in the final week of racing. Revived his career at the Giro in 2020 when he secured a last-minute contract with AG Desert Citroën. I would love to see this guy sort of revive that special relationship he has with the Giro. He's had some great results here in the past. He didn't make a mistake today. It reminds me of that Matthias Gelmoser quote from a couple weeks ago about like, if you like following Pogacar is like going too close to the sun, you'll get burnt in the end. And it seemed to happen there. And we've seen Carapaz as well try to follow Pogacar in the Dauphiné and so forth in the past, and it just hasn't worked out. Skelmos as well.
And you mean Vingegaard?
This. Sorry?
That was Vingegaard.
Yes, my bad. But still, kind of similar vibe. Yeah. But I mean, the point is still there. Like try to follow him. It's going to hurt. Yeah, I think now he's learned the lesson the hard way that he needs to just sort of regulate his own pace on these tougher mountain stages to come, where it's not just all down to one climb. I think he will shine on those stages. His team already looked good. Alex Baudin finished in top 5 on day 1. He rode particularly well. Aurélien Paille-Pintre, not quite as good as last year, but still in decent form coming into this race.
Yeah, but Paille-Pintre just duo hasn't been spectacular in these first 2 days, but they look good in Tour of the Alps, and that's not the sort of form which is just going to like disappear. Like, it's just, they could very well be like, Decathlon could be like sending them into the breakaway in like the 3rd week in like breakaway central, just when nobody wants to chase anybody. I'm thinking about how Pogacar loses it, if it is even possible. I stand by the fact that his team isn't that great in this race from a mountain perspective. And I think the first 2 days have been a real reflection of that. I think they do miss that an extra person in front of Majka, even though at the end of the day, like especially stage 2, like it didn't even matter. Like Majka just goes to the front, sets like a 30-second really hard pace, and then Pogacar launches off the back of it and nobody can follow. And if they do, like O'Connor, they get burnt big time. So it doesn't really matter. But let's say, hypothetically, what if Majka, not Pogacar has a problem, but Majka has a problem in this race? What if Majka DNF? You're kind of stuck at that point because he's left without anybody. Like at that point, his last domestique, who was second to last today? Was it Bjerg? Or was it Novak or something?
As well. Like, yesterday, Bjerg was also the penultimate rider. He's been really good so far in this tour.
Yeah, but the point is that if Majka has a problem in this race, like Pogacar's a little bit stuffed at that point. So that's something which is definitely against them, is that it's quite a fragile team, is how I'd put it, I suppose.
That happened back at the 2022 Tour de France. Majka had an injury and had to pull out in the final week of racing, and we thought that he was isolated. Bjerg really stepped up to the plate. I think Grosjean could step up to the plate. Novak's disappointed me over the first 2 days. You know, I'm a big Novak fan, but I think he's just been a bit underwhelming. Maybe he'll ride into form later into this race. He was really good a couple of years back in the final week of the Giro for Bahrain Victorious. So I expect him to sort of bounce back later on. But I think, given that he's probably going to have about a minute 20, minute 30 by the end of the first week of racing, is his team's role that important anymore? Can he not just rely on the other teams fighting for 2nd and 3rd, 4th, 5th place to then sort of control the race? You know, Ineos are Ineos. They'll probably default into that role anyway. We saw that today. decathlon as well might start getting defensive about a potential podium position. Visma Lease bike, once again, our Visma Lease bike, they'll probably could go to the front and default their place if Outerbrooks is
Who
going
do
well.
they have though? They lost Robert Hessing, so they're losing guys by the stages. And all of Coy crashed as well. Obviously, he's not part of a mountain train. Terrible start.
Yeah, it's not been great for Visma Lease bike, but I think, and then also with all these sprint stages, sprint teams will need to control this. I think it's an okay situation for UAE Team Emirates. I think they have the best ride in the race. He should win it overall, to be quite frank. And we've seen that today. The one thing I do worry about Pogacar, it's not the team, it's
the front tire.
Running tubeless. I would say, like, it's more himself, and I think about a quote that he gave during the Tour de France last year about running out of bullets, that he's only got a certain amount of bullets, and he's already used up 2 big attacks already in this race. Is he going to run out of bullets early on? What if he gets that final week and he's just used up all his energy trying to sort of gain a huge gap in this opening sort of 10, 12 days of racing where we have a lot of mountains? He sort of relaxes, and then by that final week, the bullets are gone. The barrel is empty. That's when Geraint Thomas, the veteran engine, can sort of strike through later on. But that is the sort of worst case scenario. I think that's maybe more likely to catch up with him at the Tour de France than at the Giro, given how sort of weak the competition is here. But that does worry me. Is he doing too much too soon?
Yeah, I guess that's sort of the way which we've all thought that Pogacar was going to do is that he was just going to gain like 2 minutes by the end of the first week and then just play it passive. And maybe that is what we're trying to do. Like maybe we just thought correctly and that's exactly the game plan. But like you say, maybe that's just coming. Maybe that's going to come at a cost later on, and maybe they're hoping that just sort of GC chess and people being a little bit cagey is going to come to their aid, and they're going to be able to play off of other people's strategies. So yeah, I do think it's quite a fine line that they're treading from a GC standpoint, that they are banking not necessarily on their own team strengths, but other people's strengths to try and just like hopefully just get, Ineos or Decathlon or whoever it is on the front. Somebody who won't be on the front is probably Bahrain, because they sucked today really, really badly.
And this is an overarching narrative of the year. They are underperforming in the World Tour rankings, like really underperforming in the lower half. Caruso lost a lot of time, and Tiberi.
He's not here. He's not here to be a leader, according to their team announcement. It's all Tiberi.
Well, Tiberi lost 2 minutes today as well.
Oh, next Nibali apparently.
So yeah, exactly. And people were really hyping up Tiberi. I mean, we were as well. Maybe he'll get some time back later on in the race, like a Jan Heert style top 10. But the fact that Tiberi and Caruso have lost time. Caruso looked good on stage 1, but then stage 2 lost minutes. They don't have Wout Poels here to help in the mountains. They gutted him out of the team for some reason. I am worried. Also, Eddie Dunbar lost 5 minutes today. Nairo Quintana rollback.
Eddie Dunbar crashed, so I think that is the asterisk there.
Water is wet, Scott. Water is wet.
It was quite a bad crash.
Eddie Dunbar seems to have a problem in every race. It's like that one Giro when nothing went wrong. It was fantastic. But yeah, lots of guys. Quintana losing time. Perizzari 2 minutes down as well. Adamsman, I mean, we could talk about him for a long time. He's lost another 1 minute and 30. Balde 1 minute 20 back. He was beaten by Malou today, the African champion, which was good to see. Astana, by the way, absolutely banging it today. Legendary team status on our tier list. Astana, 3 riders in top 20 and a real contender in the breakaways in Christian Scaroni. How good is that team going to go when there's no eyes on Enoch Malubran? He sneaks into top 20 on a pretty difficult mountain stage. And lucky Lorenzo Fortunato, we can't forget him, top 10 GC right now.
Yeah, people were probably laughing at us, and we must admit there was a slight bit of bias may have infiltrated that ranking video, just a smidge, like tiny little bit. But it's actually like doing all right. It's kind of, but they are at the moment, I think, overachieving, you could say. So I've got, yeah, I think Astana is actually doing quite well.
The Pranto di Tibo is coming up, and Alex Lutsenko won the Pranto di Tibo stage in the Giro d'Abruzzo. So
beating a very, very strong UAE team Emirates that day, which included podium finish at the Tour de France last year, Adam Yates. Bear that in mind. Yeah, Lutsenko looked decent today. It was typical Lutsenko hanging on the back of the main GC group. And he's almost in the Lutsenko zone already. He's in 11th, so it won't take much to get him up there. I was also impressed by Jan Heerts, who, I mean, I was so high on back in 2022. Moved to Soudal, underwhelmed, but he is top 10 in GC at the moment, which is a really, really good result for him.
Actually, Soudal Quickstep are actually doing all right. Like, Van Zevenant he was 15th today. And, like, he's actually looking pretty, like, he's been very hot and cold, I think, the last 2 years, but he actually looks, after a decent Ardennes, actually looks quite strong. And I do think that he could be like a good force to be reckoned with going into this, like later into this race. He might even be somebody who may get into a break and be like gifted, you know, temporarily the pink jersey, because he's like 2 minutes down, and he'd be the sort of rider I think could take over that jersey. So watch Soudal Quickstep. They had a bad spring, but they could be coming around.
I do think as well, as bad as it sounds, people won't take Van Zevenant seriously in the GC rankings. So I think they'll be okay letting him out with a bit of a GC gap. I think that's going to be a really intriguing narrative towards the end of the week when we look towards next week's podcast, is like the breakaway sort of dynamic with the pink jersey and how that goes for GC, because UAE will find it very hard to control this race from stage 2 to 21.
Anywhere from 15th to like 25th in GC, basically, is somebody who could be a threat.
Well, just let them have the pink jersey for a couple of days. That sort of relieves a bit of pressure on their half, particularly going into that gravel stage, potentially, where there's probably going to be a lot of hype, and the Abruzzo Mountains in the beginning of the second week. I have a feeling that it's going to be fine for UAE. Someone will take the opportunity they have to sort of get that pink jersey. They can't do this from start to finish.
They're going to have to be savvy, for sure.
Anyway, we'll move it on to Redbull Bora Hansgrohe, which seems to be a thing from the 1st of July. Well, it is going to be a thing. And we've talked about this before. And what do you guys make of this?
I like it. I think it's cool getting a... You see riders with the Red Bull helmets on, and it kind of felt like a bit of a, like, not a massive leap that they might just get fully involved in the sport in a team. And I think it's great, but it's going to be Bora. I think they've been a team which has been like on the fringes of competing with Visma Lease Bike and their, Jumbo Visma previous editions and UAE Team Emirates, but they've just needed like two things, which has been a serious GC contender, which hopefully Roglic is going to be that. And probably just a bit more, I'm a bit like that as well, Scott, but beggars can't be choosers. He was the only one available. And then the other one, being like big financial backing and really getting a good team around him. And Bora, Red Bull, whatever it's going to be now, firstly, good opportunity for a cool jersey. Having under some concept art. Are those concept arts like official, or are they?
Yes. They haven't said if it's exactly like it, but they said it's very similar to what they have proposed. So there was a jersey leak last week. It's very navy blue, and also the new team name, I think, is Redbull Bora Hansgrohe. That's going to be so long. I thought DSM Feminic Personnel was too long, but Redbull Bora Hansgrohe is apparently the new name of the team. So yeah, navy blue seems to be their new colour scheme.
Sounds a lot like Lidl track. That's like the same colour palette, isn't it? It's a dark blue with a yellow and a red. That's exactly what... Is the green gone? Is that it? Is that Bora Hansgrohe green and whatever Sif yellow?
The yellow is gone, but the aquamarine stays for the Hansgrohe logo.
So, and wait, when does this jersey come into effect? Is that just next year?
Well, it was announced this week that the name, we don't know when exactly, but we believe it's towards the Tour de France. Ralph Dank had a big press conference this week to talk about it. So it will happen probably before the Tour de France, which is what we speculated beforehand. But yeah, Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe also announced as the official name of her team.
Well, it makes sense to do it before the tour. Like, you see special kits and stuff. Why not do like a big team kind of announcement, new jersey, new big hype sponsor, and not just like a a niche brand, but like a well-known international brand. That's going to get a lot of talk going around Bora Hansgrohe for Roglic to crash on stage 6 into another hay bale or whatever. Lots of hype is going to be around that. But in all seriousness, I like it. I think it's a cool sponsor coming into the sport, and I think it means that Bora, and I guess we can go on to this now, can make some cool signings as well.
Yes. May I reference an article from my workplace, because it's actually quite useful?
Have they sponsored this segment?
No, but it was published. Well, it's published in the latest magazine, which came out last week. James Witt's profiles Ralph Denk last week. Well, the profile was published last week, and it does to discuss the Red Bull merger here. And he says that it's exciting to see how Red Bull will engage with a new audience. I think that is what's really key here, because the Red Bull have done such a good job at engaging a new audience in all these other sports and extreme sports that they have touched. Their social media team is fantastic. Their social media budget and marketing budget is just it's in the millions. It's honestly like out of this world. So it'll be interesting to see how that affects the sport as a whole. And as you say, it's not just another sort of Middle Eastern sports washing team or a morally questionable billionaire getting involved. This is a genuine company that people can go to their local supermarket, their grocery store, whatever you want to call it, and they can buy this product. They know this product. It has an identity in sport as a whole. It's not just, a Belgian building material.
It's not Pierre Baguette.
It's not Pierre Baguette. We'll get to Pierre Baguette later on. It's not Baby Dump. If anybody remembers that very awful sponsorship deal from a couple of years back, for context, they're a Dutch stroller company. But also in this piece, Ralph Denk goes on to talk about that he wants to sign big riders, but he also wants that homegrown talent as well. He wants to develop these younger riders, which I think we definitely saw a sort of demonstration of that this weekend with Florian Lipovitz, who was fantastic on stage 2 of the Giro. And they do have a strong development team. They do have a strong youth program that's bringing people through. Roglic might not have been the natural sort of signing to have a sort of younger, more sort of protege rider. But in the long term, this is a long-term deal for Red Bull. It'll be interesting to see how they sort of cultivate talent in this age where these wonder kids are signed for like 8 years. Like Del Toro, as we spoke about, has a contract until 2029.
What are the rumours of the riders which they're signing out? Like, I guess, like GC riders? There seems to be a little bit of a classics.
So we talked about Lascano from Movistar to this team. Jan Tratnik has been linked as well. Lawrence Piffy, apparently super confirmed. And then Elizari as well. Some interesting riders there for sure.
Yeah, it is. And they've also got this new Red Bull Junior Brothers program, which is sourcing new talent and younger talent. This might be linked to that. Riders at Bora Hansgrohe, Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe will also have access to the Red Bull training center outside Salzburg in Austria, which is it's incredibly unique for cyclists. The only ones that currently have it are, who are they again? Wout van Aert, Tom Pidcock, Blanca Vash, any other Red Bull sponsored athlete. But it's a rare sort of novelty maybe for these riders to be able to access all of the sporting infrastructure that the Red Bull network and the Red Bull family of sports organizations have. That could be really exciting for these teams to get involved in. In the same way, I mean, Jumbo-Visma not quite the same, but they had their speed skating team. They kind of had that two-pronged approach where they were sort of transferring talent between the two. This is bigger than just speed skating and cycling. This is a whole sort of network from F1 to competitive sailing to cliff diving. All of these sort of expertise and talent that you have across this huge network is a great pull for riders to move across to this team. And I think that's going to be a big pull in comparison to Visma Lease Bike, in comparison to Ineos Grenadiers, in comparison to UAE Team Emirates in the years to come.
Maybe a big pull for new people to come into the sport. Just as like a casual fan, Red Bull sponsors a cycling team of the Tour. Maybe I'll tune in this year. And, lots of people come into the sport through the Tour. I know I did like a decade ago when I kind of started watching cycling a bit more frequently. The Tour is the kind of the entryway for lots of people to come in, and the fact that you have a big brand and they're like, I watch one of these other sports that you mentioned, or I watch F1. Oh, I'm going to, support or, track this Red Bull team. And they're like, oh, actually, cycling's actually kind of all right. And then you get a new following of people who then not only watch the Tour, they're like, oh, I'll go and watch the other Grand Tours, and then I'll watch the other races, and then you get kind of more and more people in the sport. And I think I just think it's a really good thing in coming in. I think it's going to be great.
You think we're going to see Roglic being thrown out a plane in a parachute with his road bike?
Jesus, he can't go along a road like without crashing. Don't do anything to it.
Well, I saw this video where they like got one of their speed skaters and they tried to make him set the world record for the fastest skating speed. What if we got Roglic on the back of sort of in like, I don't know, it's a desert somewhere trying to like sprint up to like 120 kilometers an hour behind a huge like aerodynamic car? That could get millions of views and lots of eyes onto the sport. Maybe Roglic isn't the kind of person you need for that. Maybe it's going to be Danny van Poppel.
Yeah, they need to get like, they'll do like a descending thing. Like they must do like a, get some, there'll be a market for, if you're a really fast descender, Bora will hire you because they need you for like PR, basically. You don't need to climb well or do anything. Yeah, literally, watch Pidcock will move to Bora because
exactly.
Like the budget, and they're just like, well, we need you for marketing. We need you to do that Galibier again, but we're going to follow you with like a really fast drone, and they'll do that. Like, trust me, that would just for marketing.
Well, we might as well move away from Red Bull and energy drinks. Going to apparently Ewan's favorite race, but you didn't watch it this year, Tro Bro Leon, and podcast favorite Arnaud Delis coming back to some really good form here. What do you make of this?
I'll be honest with you, I haven't watched it, but I saw that Delis was dropped and then he came back, so I don't actually fully understand how it went on, but because I still haven't subscribed to Discovery Plus because I'm still obviously mourning the loss of GCN Plus. I mean, yeah, Delis kind of back. I don't want to fully proclaim it from the hilltops just yet because who is he up against? Like, he beat Clément Venturini and go to that. And I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying baby steps.
I mean, he is coming back from Lyme's disease, which I think can be pretty serious. I'm not a doctor. I know Lyme's disease is something you get from ticks, those little insects you get in grass. So maybe Tro Bro Leon, given it's in farmers' fields, not the wisest choice of race. But it is like an absolute banger. And although I didn't watch it live, I did watch a very quick sort of 3-minute highlight video. And from what I saw, Morne van Niekerk, the South African rider, for Saint-Michel, had a really good race. He was out in the breakaway and didn't get caught right until the end. Still got a top 6 in that finale. And Arnaud Delis, I think he had bike problems. I think he had technical issues and then came back towards the front. He took that one. Personally, I'm a little bit sad that it wasn't Arkea who took the win. It's a Breton team. This is the biggest Breton race of the year. They designed a new jersey for this race. They went all out. And they finished in second place. It's a huge goal for them.
Yeah, who would the pick?
That's what I'm trying to work out.
That's what we need to figure out.
It's not looking good. Mathis Lebert, or is he Norman? No, he's Breton. Yeah, Mathis Lebert, who was in 14th place because the best Breton rider gets a pig as a prize.
There you go.
A live pig, or
yes.
What do you do with it?
I don't know. Put it in.
Eat it.
Oh my God! What if Mathis Lebert is actually vegetarian, vegan? Who knows?
I said feed it. I didn't say kill it.
Oh right, he said eat it.
Oh,
no,
I thought you
feed
said
it. Like, oh my goodness!
Yeah, right,
sorry, we went for different paths.
I don't know. Like, what if you're just not cut out for feeding pigs? Like, what do you do?
Mathis Lebert, for context, is from the same place that everyone's favorite Breton. Ben I know is from cyclical. That doesn't really add anything about the pig comment, but
just on a side note, I like the Archaea B&B Hotels new kit because it's black and white and it kind of throws it back to the like Sunweb kit of 2020.
yeah,
It needs to be more just black and white kits of the peloton.
I mean,
bring it back.
It's also, I mean, I coincidentally have my Breton Archaea, but it is also the reference to the Breton flag. Gotta love that. And the white and black kit, that Sunweb kit was goated. 2 Grand Tour stage wins, a second and third of the Giro. We had peak Mark Hirschi.
I don't think I've actually moved past that 2020 Tour de France. I think I'm just perpetually just stuck there, like forever. And just seeing like Pogacar wins up the Planche de Bellevue TT. I don't think I've actually recovered. I feel like I'm constantly just feeling like Primoz Roglic on that day, just like stuck in time on this in this year. But anyway, I forgot what this whole ramble's about. But anyway, the point is, Lebert won a pig, and Deli won the race. There you go.
We didn't mention the EF kit in our little Giro talk. What did you think of the new kit?
It's fine.
It's fine, yeah.
7 out of 10. I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, all right.
It's just the inverted version of the normal one. They did this back in 2022. I think it's a bit lazy, given that sometimes they do like big grand kits, like the 2021, which is the Palace collab. 2021 was a really cool jersey. Last year as well, they had that weird sort of mishmatchy kit. Where this year, I don't really know what to think about it. We also have other new jerseys, Intermarché, slightly different kits, but I don't think anybody really noticed that one. And what I found interesting, I successfully ratioed Richard Plugger this week because he had something to say about the EF kit. He said, it's a pity that EF lost the recognizability of a team. Their colors are very clean and they built for this... Jesus, I can't read. It is a pity that EF Pro Cycling lost their recognizability of the team. Their colors are very clear and they built this for months and years even. And now suddenly they are different. Very confusing for fans.
Hang on.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait a minute.
Well, that's how I ratioed him.
What?
Yeah, I mean... I don't think it's too drastic. They're still wearing the pink helmets. But did Israel Permitech release a new kit? No, they didn't. Did they? Well, we haven't seen any like them anywhere near the front of the peloton.
If it did, it can't be that good because I can't remember it.
They have for the past couple GD, but no, they haven't. Oh, boring. Well,
you need to pick a jersey color so that you're forced to change your jersey colour when a Grand Tour comes around for good marketing. That is what the true, genius people do. That's what you do. Archaea were ahead of the curve.
Vuelta Feminina Español. However you say it. The female version of the Vuelta Español was also this week. Oh, here we go.
Oh, hang on.
Vuelta Feminina, for commercial reasons, presented by Carrefour.
Oh my God, okay. It's always Avec, Summit, with Summit. So with someone else.
It's fine. If it keeps the race alive, I'm fine with it.
Stage 2, where we left off last week, was won by Alison Jackson, Canadian champion, the Paris winner last year. She took that in a very dominant sprint there after Marianne Vos took the stage win in a lumpy day. Kristen Faulkner took stage 4 in a solo effort. Kristen Faulkner, by the way, who has DM'd the podcast in the past. We won't dive into why. Kristen Faulkner get the second stage win for EF Education First. The day after, it was Demi Vollering, who went back to winning ways to get her first win of the season. She went into the race to lead after winning at Haka, which is a very tough, windy summit finish, up to a 4 to the top of a mountain. Following day, it was won by Evita Music of France, who's had a brilliant spring, very under the radar. She was up there as one of my picks for Rider of the Week. Maybe she still will be. She beat Vollering in the end, moved herself up right into top 10. One thing I love as well is that, they have to give that pre-recorded video of them celebrating. For her one, she did this, which is the hand signal for popular French rapper Jul, who had, I think, he has one of the most streamed French songs of all time called Bande Organisée, which you can stream now on Spotify. It was a hit back in 2020 and 21. Nevertheless, the day after was it was like the dictionary definition of a Vuelta finish, very, very steep final, a couple 100 meters, won by Marianne Vos ahead of Kristen Faulkner. At this point, Marianne Vos had And finally, stage 8, which happened today, the day of recording, the final stage, Demi Vollering smashed everyone on the final mountain stage to put herself in a very, very comfortable lead of the GC. Behind, it was an interesting battle for second place. Elisa Longoborghini, who she won the team time trial on stage 1. She lost momentum on the stage, ended up ceding her second place to Rihanna Marcus of Team Visma Lease Bike. Behind her, Juliette Labus continues her phenomenal record in Grand Tours for women. She finished in 4th place, and 5th place went to the aforementioned Evita Music of FDJ Suez, who, by the way, are very strongly linked to Demi Vollering next year. That thickened this week as well. So Vollering looks to be going to FDJ Suez, and Vollering is back to winning ways, taking the Grand Tour that she missed so narrowly last year, only by a handful of seconds.
I don't even know where to start with all that. Firstly, I guess Vollering still the best, I guess. Also, did any of you see how I can't remember who tweeted it. It might be an official account, but it said that Annemiek van Vleuten won. I can't remember. I swear I saw this. Somebody actually put, they didn't even they even atted Annemiek van Vleuten, atted Movistar in it. I can't remember if they were just taking the mick or not, or whether it's just a genuine mistake. They're just getting confused. I'm surprised they just didn't put Anna van der Breggen in there as well, or just really make it really confusing. But I think my main thing that I took away from this week was, what are SD Works, the almighty dominant team for all these years, all the way back through Boston, what are they going to do when Vollering inevitably leads? Their next in line is for GC is what, Nee Fisher Black or Reusa or Kopecky, or it's just it's not looking that great for once Vollering leaves, which, as you had said, is looking pretty inevitable.
I just found what is now a deleted tweet from the official Vuelta Feminina account. Top 3 in the general classification, Annemiek van Vleuten at Movistar, the winner. Oh, we've all been there, when you copy paste something and you forget to change something.
And paste it from where? Last year.
It must have been the same tweet from last year, but then everyone else on the podium is the same. Rihanna Marcus is the actual second place this year. Longoborghini in 3rd place is the actual one. I like how they updated the Visma Lease Bike handle, and they got Carrefour, the new sponsor, in there as well. But they didn't update Annemiek van Vleuten's name. SD Works, Fisher Black is probably their way forward. Fisher Black, who, by the way, saved a pretty nasty crash today. She looked like she was going to go over the barriers and somehow did some gymnastics and was fine in the end. But apart from that, it does look like the wheels are kind of falling off SD Works' GC hype train. But it's really exciting for FDJ Suez, to be honest. Evita Music, along with Vollering, that's going to be a really interesting double act. Maybe they're going to be the new super duo in the Grand Tours next year.
Is Ludwig still there? Is she going to be there still?
Yeah, she's just been injured this whole spring.
Yeah, sure.
After Omloop Newsblad. I don't know if she's... Yeah, she doesn't have a contract for next year, but I can't imagine her moving.
Anyway, ride of the week. That was a long...
Pierre Baguette. Can we please talk?
Yeah. Go on. Yeah. Go on then. Pierre Baguette.
Okay. That is not culturally appropriating. I'm not stereotyping. That is the name of a Slovak team, which has taken on board Peter Sagan. Yes, Peter Sagan. He's returning to road racing after his heart operation, quite serious heart operation, a couple of months back. But he's not hijacking the Specialized Europe's Instagram story. He is going to be riding the Tour of Hungary, or the Tour de Hongrie, as it's called, for Pierre Baguette, a team run by his brother. But yeah, Sagan making a rare comeback. I don't think anyone really saw this one coming. I mean, they saw that he signed in the off-season, but I just thought that was a ceremonial thing. He'd maybe go to some small Slovak races, but Tour of Hungary is fairly big. He'll have some decent competitors, but he's very much the only star of this team. No offense to other riders, but he is, if we look at sort of pro cycling stats points, he has 23,000. The next best rider, who is Tomáš Roche has 33 points. So there's quite a big difference there. But it'll be cool to see Sagan race again. I don't know if he's going to be going to more races, but Pierre Baguette, who by the way is sponsored by a Slovak bread company, will be fielding teams to other small races in Central Europe for the rest of the year. But I mean, good promo for Sagan.
I love looking like at his team progress against like Tinkoff, like it's like Cannondale, Liquid Cannondale, Tinkoff, Bora, Tadej, yeah, Baguette. And it's just this, like, it's just like so out of context. Just like, what's happened to this man? Because this man who was a 3-time world champion is now riding for Pierre Baguette. It's like, who would have guessed this in 2017?
I do think it's funny how like they have the special, like they have the normal Pierre Baguette jersey, but then they got the rainbow stripes there just to like prove a point. Like, yeah, we have this world champion. But this kind of reminds me of that time where didn't Chris Horner move to a team that was like,
yeah, but that was under very different circumstances. He couldn't get a contract.
True, but he went to like a team that was like called like Forklifts or something. That was quite an interesting move.
Yeah, not the same scenario at all.
No, but it's like a weird team name in the Palmares. Let's not talk about Chris Horner. Rider of the week.
There's so many to choose from. You know what? I'm gonna start us off because as we all know, I hate picking the low-hanging fruit, so we're going to go with something a little bit rogue. I'm going to go with Clément Venturini as my rider of the week because he finished third in the Morbihan race on Saturday behind Kuznetsov. Or if it might have been third. I can't remember. But he finished on the podium there, and then he finished on the podium with Tro Bro Leon. 2 podiums for Clément Venturini in, fairly serious competition on back-to-back days. I don't know. Clément Venturini is not a name which pops onto the radar very often. He's a bit of a throwback. So
other than
when I can get the opportunity,
season, when he's winning the nationals in France.
Literally, yeah, for that one race for year, and then he gets spanked everywhere else by Kuipers or whoever it is. But anyway, the point is, you don't get to shout too much about Venturini. So on the 1 week, and probably for the rest of the time where I'm going to be able to, I'm going to do it. So Clément Venturini, my rider of the week.
Similarly, Pogacar is incredibly low-hanging fruit. I'm gonna reach out to the Vuelta Feminina and extend this to rider of the past month. And that's going to go to Ingvild Gårdskjell of Norway and of Liv, Jacob, Alula, whatever the order is for commercial reasons. She has had a banging month. 3rd place at Amstel Gold. She was shocked when she found out. Then she finished top 25 in both Liège and Flèche. And this week she finished top 5 on 3 stages and finished 14th place on GC. Ingvild Gårdskjell, it's not necessarily a rider you think of when you think, wow, women's cycling, ooh, a hardy sprinter. But she has some panache. She's turning 26 this year, and I'm hoping that she can make a big splash later this year at the Tour de France Femme.
I mean, there is a Danish low-hanging fruit with Albert Philipsen, who won the Cordella Pierre Juniors stage race.
Third race.
Oh, that is the old peace race. That used to be the communist Tour de France.
Oh no, here we go.
This is one of my favorite things to talk about. During the Cold War, Poland, the Czech Republic, and
why did I have to
communist Germany created their own Tour de France equivalent. It once visited Chernobyl. Sorry, it once visited Ukraine. Yes, that's now a youth race, and Philipsen won. Anyways, go back to your point.
Narvaez as well. Johnson Narvaez beating Pogacar, very low as well. Jakub Morecko winning a 1.2 race. Remember him?
Oh, yes. He was like Caleb Ewan regen, basically. He was like, back when people used to get lower with front wheels.
I mean, Alexander Kristoff winning a race in Belgium as well. Brugge to Brugge. I'll go for Albert Philipsen because he's Danish, and that's good enough for me. That's like you with Yorkshire. Like, your whole spiel with DSM was that they were going to bring Max Poole to the Giro, and they didn't. And look what happened.
Yeah, exactly. It's gone absolutely terribly. So there you go. My point stands.
Yeah, it does actually.
Yorkshire morale clearly elevates teams. So it's obviously a proven fact.
Oh, Joel Pidcock as well taking a win.
Yeah.
Nobody moved.
Cool.
Ouch. Anyways, that's basically it for episode 67. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel and let us know what you thought of the week of racing as well. We love to hear your comments, even when they're sometimes a bit too negative because you think we're all hating on Tadej Pogacar or Jonas Vingegaard. We can't hate them both. But yeah, with that, that's it for us. And I guess we'll see you next week when it's the first day of the rest day for the Giro d'Italia.
Wait. Can't wait. Can't wait for Mario Van Savenholm to be in pink.
You know,